Hello, Team Happy and Fit. So good to be with you tonight. I am so excited to hear from Eric and TJ. Before we get started, I am so excited. Kim Meyer and I are heading to Scottsdale, Arizona tomorrow morning, and we are going to be at Beachbody Leadership. Leadership is for 5-star diamonds and above. And it's so unique to be there because it's only a couple hundred people, and basically we get a mastermind in leadership with corporate, but then also they bring in some pretty awesome speakers, and then we get a workout. We're working out with
Amola Caesar.
We're working out with Amola Caesar, and we're also working out with Joel Freeman Thursday, which will be really cool. So you guys should really follow Kim and I's journey to leadership. We'll come back and share exactly what we learned. This is my first trip away from Faye, but I have to say I love being a working mom. I love being able to build a business with more freedom and time and be able to pour into other people. I love that we have a business that's all about fitness. Something that I wanted to share with you in my book real fast is this quote, and you should write it down. There are two types of pain you will go through in life. There are two types of pain you will go through in life. The pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, while regret weighs tons. There are two types of pain you will go through in life. The pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, while regret weighs tons. In 10 years, will I regret not doing this? And that's kind of how I've thought about this business. Would I regret not doing this, not sticking it out, not actually doing the work to get there? And the answer was yes, because what is your 10-year plan? Maybe life is really good right now, but maybe in 10 years you would like more freedom and flexibility. In 10 years from now, what do you want life to look like? And we kind of have always just led that way with this business, that we feel so fresh and new in it because it's only been 5 years for us, where we're thinking we can't even imagine the next 5 or 10 years with Beachbody and this team. And basically in this book, it was immerse yourself into what your 10-year plan looks like. And so immersing yourself means getting on these calls. Immersing yourself means starting and completing a program. Immersing yourself is just taking the action and qualifying yourself. There is no blueprint for discovering your life's work, and you never feel ready to do the important things you're meant to do. You're never going to feel ready. And I think that that is something that's been on my heart and Eric's heart, is that what do you have to lose and what do you have to gain? What do you have to lose by just telling everyone that you know about this? Because that fear you have of rejection, in my opinion, does not compare to what my 10-year plan will look like. In fact, the people who may or may not join me in the next few years, that has nothing that's going to determine what it's going to be like in the next few years. 10 years, I mean, where it's like, I want to be able to have more choices. I care more about spending time with my family than a no. I really care more about impact and helping other people maximize their income than not taking action and not being disciplined. I would rather be disciplined and it be hard, because a lot of what we're doing, you don't see any results for a while. It's delayed results and it takes time. It's the compound effect, but I'm willing to do the everyday thing to get me to that everyday life that I dream about and I want. And also, really, this business is so simple. It's to work on yourself and share it and just be consistent every day with that, and then letting people know what it is that you're doing. So tip before we get started is that I've just been going to everyone that's following me and sending out maybe 20 messages a day of, hey, thank you for following me. I'm so sorry I haven't reached out sooner. I just want to let you know, and I want to connect with my followers. I want to connect with my friends on Facebook and tell them about what I'm doing, because maybe it's something that you would want to do too. It's basically that whole invitation of like, come with me, right? And Eric's going to expand on this a little bit later, but what do I have to lose? I have nothing to lose by letting every one of my Facebook friends know. And if they unfriend me and block me, in my 10-year plan, it doesn't make a difference. Because in my 10-year plan, I I see something bigger for my future. And so what do I have to lose? Because my family matters more. What do I have to lose? This team matters more. And no one can take away your results from this. No one can take away your belief from this. So if you've gotten results and someone says, oh, you're doing that thing, no one can take that away. If you've lost 35 pounds like I have with this, someone who has a rejection of this can't take that away of my belief in this. This has changed my life. People can say, oh, that's a pyramid scheme. Even though that's not true, they can't even change how I feel about this, because I know what it is, and it's this right here, this community. That no matter what someone else says, it won't even rock me in this, because I'm so steadfast into what this can do for myself and what it can do for others, that this helps you get fit in every area of life. What do you have to lose, and what is your 10-year plan? Because in my opinion, you have everything to gain by just doing it and also, last thing is, so many people research. They're trying to absorb all the information, know all the things without taking the action. The only way that this works is if you take the action. Instead of, like, it'd be like an equivalent to this. About to start a program, and you do all the research on the program before you get started. How many of us just dove into 100 Morning Meltdown 100? We just dove in, right? Because the plan was already there. Imagine if we just were like, I've got to like watch every single workout. I have to watch all 100. I have to watch all the videos. I have to do all the research on 100 MM100 and then start. Would that be crazy? I feel like that would be crazy. And equivalent to running your business. Like, you can watch all the videos, jump on all the Zooms, but in my opinion, like, just take the first step. Just make that post on social media. Just like tell them why you're doing it, because at the end of the day, no one can take away your results. If this is truly changing your life, there's nothing anyone can say to change how you feel about this community. That's all I have. I love you all. Giving it to Eric now.
I think that's so powerful. And yes, I'm going to expand upon that later. I just love what you said with what do you have to lose. So I'm definitely going to expand upon that, and we'll talk about that later. But right now we have TJ, Julianne's brother, who's so graciously is always coming to us every month with ways to get better with social media, with email, just making our digital side of our business better. So with that, TJ, we're going to hand it off to you, and can't wait to hear about those knowledge bombs of email.
It's always great to see you, and it's great to see everybody else on the call, and thank you for joining this. I was promised not to bore you too much, because I know email is probably not everybody's favorite. So, but I think we have some good stuff to talk about today. So, Julianne, that was a great message, and it's a great way to kick everything off. It's a great reminder of, live your life, be present, and, have it with purpose. And I really appreciate that. Okay. So, let's just go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to share my screen. So bear with me here. Here we go. Okay, can everybody see the presentation? Yeah, nod with me. Okay, one person. Okay, I see somebody nodding. All right, cool. All right, so today we're going to talk about email. This is the wrapping up the email series of the year of what we've been going through, and man, I really am not good at doing all this stuff. Okay, there we go. All right, so what I want to do is just go ahead and let's kick it off. All right. So we're going to talk about a little introduction and overview that we've been doing this for. I'm going to provide some helpful tips, explain a few different types of emails, and then we'll wrap it up quick with just a conclusion and overview. And if you guys have any questions or answers, we can talk about it then. So let's get into it. My name is TJ. I sometimes go by Thomas as my formal name. Julianne, as you mentioned, sometimes you just have to put it out there and say what it is that you're doing and why, and believe in it. So for the first time ever, I'm going to say it like this. I'm the executive director at Coolidge Charities Incorporated, which is a nonprofit advertising agency. It's an agency that I started with my brother and my cousin, where I continue to do marketing calls like this and help, companies and other nonprofits with their marketing. So still doesn't roll off the tongue quite, yet, but it's getting there. So that's a little bit about me. All right. So today we're going to talk about email and some of the things that I often talk about email. Julian and I had a warm-up call for this on Thursday. We normally do our calls on Thursday, and we were walking through some of this, and I realized as I'm talking about funnels and segments and taking your audience and all these different things, I realized that it might not be as relevant to everybody on the call today as I would hope so. So I'm going to start with a little bit higher level view of what I'm talking about here. All right. So some helpful tips for writing for doing your emails. We're talking about selling through email today. So we're talking about getting somebody to convert, right? Somebody to make a purchase or make a commitment or, using email to take that next step. So first things first is the subject lines. The biggest tip is short subject lines, right? So you want to keep them under 60 characters. You want to keep them to approximately about 12 words, right? So here's some examples, okay? Ask a question. Are you tired of struggling? Holiday eating is around the corner. Are you ready? These are type of things that provoke somebody to open the email and take that next step. These two examples, though, I paused on it because I have a few more examples with this, but these two examples I wanted to note because they're somewhat negative, right? They're not negative in the sense of you suck or you're awful or anything like that, but they kind of have a tone to it. They're implying that there's a problem already there. So are you struggling? It's implying that somebody's already struggling. And the reason why I want to pause on this for a second is because that's not always the best method. It's going to work. It's going to get somebody to open your email. So if you're asking a question or you're implying something that might have almost like a Halloween scary tone kind of to it, the suspense with it, just use it with caution. You want to, paint the picture of what the solution is, not necessarily that they have a problem. You want to already assume that they have the problem and do that. So while these are successful and they are, they will work, just use them sparingly and just be smart and kind of how you stay away from negative phrasing. So here's a couple other examples. What is your biggest accomplishment? What do you enjoy doing the most? It opens up the conversation. It allows you to learn a little bit maybe more about the person. And it might get them to open up the email and read into that content. So obviously the content has to match the subject line. That's very important, but these are just some examples of how to get the conversation started. So if you were to pick up the phone and talk to somebody, you're not just going to jump right in and say, oh my gosh, I got this great plan. I got this great deal, do this, sign up for this, and yada, yada, yada. You're going to want to get to know them a little bit. You're going to want to get to know what their speed is, what they're looking for, what it is that they're genuinely interested in. Okay. So keep that in mind. Another one is action statements. Okay. So, first name, thank you for being a loyal member. Here's 10 tips for starting your morning. These are, it's a simple statement. These are examples of, a short phrase that might intrigue somebody again to take that next step and open them. The last example I have for this is what I would call branded phrasing. So I used Kim's business here with the Choose to Rise. And so it would be Choose to Rise holiday gift ideas. Maybe if you're just represented as a personal coach, workouts for busy moms. When I worked with John Maxwell, it was Maxwell Minute and then the subject line. So every email that came across, you knew who it was from, not only from the from address, but the subject line identified what it was going to be and what the topic was going to be for it. So, these are some items to keep in mind as you're kind of coming up with your subject lines. Make it personal, okay? When you personalize your emails, when you put the name of the person in the subject line, when you use their first name, I'm going to go back to that example of when you call somebody on the phone. You say, hello, Eric. Hello, Julianne. You address them. You make it personal. You make it, it just relates to them a little bit better. So don't forget that in your emails. If you have the ability to use their name, use it. Like make them know, even if you're taking a template or you're taking a a format that you kind of rinse and repeat, and you just kind of churn through it. Changing the name on it just makes a big difference, and it makes them want to engage a little bit more. All right. Organize your call to actions. These are called CTAs. So what this is these are what is going to get, now we got them to open it. Now we got them to get in here. The call to action is what you want them to do. This is the most important part of your email, right? So I'm going to take an example of an email that we did with Julianne earlier this year. And this is an example that had some really high click rates. For what our emails were doing, I think this one was probably about 50% higher. Any ones that we went in this format were significantly higher. So what I'm talking about here is the call to action text, right? At the top of the email, we have, before we get started, I have to ask you a question. And it gets into talking about why or what it is that we're looking for here, right? The call to action is let's get started, right? There's nowhere else for them to click. There's nowhere else for them to really go. We're really trying to drive that traffic to that call to action to get them to take the next step. So let's scroll down in the email a little bit more. This is how we organize the call to actions. Every single one of these have the same call to action. Let's get started. Let's take the next step. You want them to take that action, right? So you can see where we have it spread out through the email. As somebody's maybe learning a little bit more about what this program is and what's going on here, these are what I'm referring to as the call to action, okay? There's a secondary call to action here, which is we used testimonials, right? Testimonials are really great to use in your emails and to showcase what it is that you're doing is genuine and legit. So these testimonials help identify, help relate to the person that's reading it. And I made them clickable so that if somebody wanted to click on it, it goes right to their Facebook page, or it goes right to their homepage where they can learn a little bit more about it. So that would be what I would call a secondary call to action. Another one is the actual image, and the example I have here is who's it for? It's for busy people that want a fresh start, who have limited time and want to get results, right? So those are all like action items that somebody can take, they can click it and go to that next step, but it's how you organize them and put them together to, make sure that the reader is like, they're clicking on what you want them to click. You don't want to give them 10 different options to click on and what do they do and where's it going and all this stuff. You want to keep it simple and to the point. So those are some good examples for maybe like a MailChimp email, where you have images and you have buttons and you have, things that are linked and, and all that. So here's an example of a basic email. This might be something that you're writing at home. Maybe you use Gmail, maybe you use Apple, or maybe you use the Microsoft. So what I did was here is you still see your call to action text. We're trying, forgive me, this is Latin. This is what you use in the ad business so that people don't actually read the content and they're focusing on what it actually is. So the call to action text, it draws them in. It's bold. It's right up front. It's the first thing first. You're asking them to do something. Maybe it's to make a purchase. The call to action button. For this example, I used one of the, what is this called? A core comfort mat. As for an item to click on, but there's nothing else for them to really do. It's really just one option, right? So when you're thinking of a call to action and you're thinking of sending an email, you want to ask yourself, what is it that you want from them? What is it that you want them to do? What is it that you want, what action do you want them to take? Once you have that answer, now you start to formulate your email based around that, because that's the goal, okay? So you want to optimize for mobile. So I put an example in here. We're going to take our same example that we had with where you're doing this. You don't have MailChimp. You're writing your own emails. You have a cool little banner in there. You have your text, just like you saw before. And there's your big call to action button, right? So when you optimize for mobile, this looks great. When this comes across on a desktop, this is really, really nice. If you don't check it and you don't, verify what it's going to look like to the end user, you might run into some issues like this where the image is a little bit distorted, the text is a little bit big, and where did your call to action go, right? Now they have to scroll. Now they have to take an extra step. They have to, find it. They have to, kind of go through it. And often they get to this spot and they kind of go, maybe not. So if you optimize the content and you put it in there, this is how it should look, right? Now, most programs, your MailChimps and your Constant Contacts, they will automatically do this and test it for you. If you're running your emails through Gmail, or you're doing it on your own on your desktop. It's good to test it. Send yourself an email, see what it looks like. Does everything load? Does everything click how it's supposed to go through? And just make sure that when you're looking at those call to actions, again, that's the most important part, that it's above the fold. It's not, you don't have to scroll for it. You don't have to go find it, that it's right there. It's easy to find and it makes sense. Okay. Oh, all right. So now types of emails. When and where to use. Okay, so we covered this in, oh gosh, probably back in July or whenever it was when we did the email things before this. So I list out a couple different types of content here, and I wanted to give a few examples and kind of talk through it. It's important to note one item that Julianne and I talked about earlier last week was upselling. Okay. All these examples, I'm going to try to remember to remind you that you can upsell through all of these examples, right? They don't have to be, every email that you send is an opportunity to get a new client, to get them to make a purchase, to get them to share it, or get them to, again, take that call to action. So not only is it the content that we're going to talk about here, but it's also integrating some of the upselling that comes with it. So for newsletters, right? They're regularly scheduled and they're rarely missed. Okay. So an example might be a monthly health tips, right? At the end of every month, or the beginning of every month, or the 17th of every month, or whatever it is that you might come up with, you might want to provide some health tips. These might include, how to use, avoid certain oils, how to incorporate, your shakes into, weekly activities, how to get better sleep, how to, maybe organize your morning, or, it might just be tips that you share throughout every month. But, you can also put other content in there. So another example might be top social posts, right? You might want to go back and look at, you posted 30 photos on Instagram and you had, 10 posts or so that you did on Facebook. Maybe it's a quote, maybe it's something like that. You can take that content and put it into an email and just make it a short little recap and send it to your audience, just saying, hey, maybe you missed this. In case you did, here's some of the top posts that we had for the month. Here's some examples of, maybe a cool quote or something like that. You're trying to get them to engage with you and go with it. So another one might be industry news. Okay. So, I don't know how many people out there use Google alerts. They're really, really helpful. You can go into Google and you can set up an alert, and what it'll do is it'll send you an email. You can have it daily, you can have it weekly, you can have it as it happens. And essentially whatever you search for the most, in your guys' world, it might be, health tips or something like that, ways to work out, tips for busy moms, or, you're looking around the internet for tips. A Google alert will send you those and give you a recap of all top posts that are on the internet. And it's a great way to find other links that are out there, other people that are blogging or content that's out there, maybe for inspiration. Now you can share those links. You can take those links and put it into an email where it's just a simple, here's the link. I think this is interesting. You might find it interesting as well. Okay. Maybe it's your recent blog post. If you have a website and you're blogging regular, maybe once a week, maybe every couple days, maybe only once every couple weeks, an email is a great way to send out a monthly reminder that, hey, you're blogging content and here's the most recent post. And in case you missed it, here you go. So all of these are examples of newsletters that are not your traditional neighborhood newsletter. This is what's going on. Here's updates, what's coming up next. It doesn't require a lot of content. All these examples are they're centered around the schedule of the email, not so much spending so much time on building the content. The industry news links using a Google alert will help you bring in articles that are from all around, and all you got to do is just save them, bookmark them, do whatever. And at the end of the month, you go find them and boom, now you have a newsletter content. You can send it out to them, and it's another way to engage with your audience. Okay. So a standalone email. Now these are meaningful. They have a big impact. So an example might be a special offer. Okay. Maybe it's a new sign up for a program that's coming up for this fall. Maybe it's a new product that's being released that somebody can, it's at a discount, or a 2-for-1, or it's a new, I'm trying to think of what some of the things you guys do, but it just, again, a new product or a new program announcement. Maybe it's a holiday or seasonal theme. So you have fall coming up, right? You don't want to commit so much maybe to a newsletter that's every month, right? You don't want to have to worry about the rarely missed and all that and regularly scheduled. You just want to do one standalone email, because every season. So with fall coming up, you have holiday eating, you have, just general cold weather, peppermint mochas is what I'm seeing there. So these are all, incorporate what it is that you guys are doing, with the products and with the services, and you can relate it to the seasonal stuff that, what you're doing at home, with your own program. Okay. So that's an example of a one-time email that communicates that one message, right? Lead nurturing. All right. So this one is probably the more complex one that I was kind of wanting to get into, where you're talking about segments and you're talking about opens and who clicks and who doesn't click or who doesn't open, and then beginning to put them in there. But for this example today, I kept it quick and easy. And what I'm doing here is, maybe let's use an example of, you got a new person to sign up to the team. Okay. They haven't quite made a big purchase yet. They're just kind of into it. Maybe they're just slightly interested. Okay. They want to learn a little bit more about maybe the programs, or maybe they want to learn a little bit more about just they just kind of want to be a bystander. I don't know what the word you guys use for that, but this example here is, you send them an email. It's an introduction. Welcome to the team. Great to have you here. Here's some great tips as you start your journey. These are some things that I've learned, or here's some quotes, or here's some inspiration, or here's some other people on the team. Whatever that first email is, that's step one. Okay. When we're talking about the funnel, the 1 week follow-up, if they don't make a purchase yet, they haven't taken that next step, they haven't committed yet to fully being involved with this, and that's okay. But our goal here is to get everybody, up to the next level. We want everybody to succeed and be happy and be successful. So we know that if we push them, and we push them passively, we don't want to be in their face and yelling at them and saying, hey, you got to do this, you got to do this. But maybe 1 week later, you follow up. So you send another email to the person and just note that they haven't signed up yet or taken that next step. So maybe it's like, I hope the week you found it helpful. Here's some additional tips. Here's a great workout that I use. Here's some, other people, again, like, just, you want to share examples of success, so that, it kind of hopefully gets them to go to the next step. If they haven't taken the step, even again, they're opening your email, they're looking at it, they're clicking it, but they just haven't taken that next step. Maybe the 2 week follow-up is, again, you're pushing a little bit harder. You're trying to get them to, again, progress and get through it. And then maybe in the 4th week, it's the final offer. No worries. You do your thing. I'm still going to send you my newsletters. I'm still going to send you, product announcements, new programs and special offers. I'm going to do all those things. But for right now, this is a final offer, and you're essentially closing the loop. You don't want to keep wasting your time on somebody that's not taking that next step. That's what I mean about a funnel, right? They haven't committed yet to each one of these. So you use your template, you put your email in there, and you follow up with them in the week, you follow up in the 2 weeks, and you send them a final offer in 4 weeks. And the whole idea is you're nurturing them along the way to get them to take that next step. And hopefully they do, you don't have to go through step 4, right? But that's an example of when I refer to a lead nurturing, those are the most successful. That's where you're really going to find people to commit to those sales, okay? Transactional. So these are official, they're professional, they're timely. You see these all the time. These are your receipts, these are your confirmations, these are your important notifications. But it's another example of sending an email and communicating with somebody, right? So you don't want to do the newsletters. That's a lot of commitment. And I don't want to do it every month. I don't want to do it every other month. I don't want to have to put in content, and that's a lot, right? The standalone, it's easier just to share, on social media that, hey, there's a new program, or that I don't want to do that. Lead nurturing, oh gosh, now I got to put into, follow up with them a week after, and 2 weeks after, and 3 weeks after, and 4 weeks after, and really chase these people to get them to do that. I don't want to do any of that. Well, transactional is a great way to still communicate through email and still find a way to upsell. So, let's take that same example where somebody's new to the team. You send them that confirmation email. That would be like a transactional email. That's something that's saying, hey, I'm confirming that you're signed up and that you're in. Welcome to this, and put it in there. Okay. It might be an important notification. Hey, there's only 10 days left to register for, this new program, this new boot camp or whatever it might be called that's coming up. Those are, examples of these one-time kind of transactional type emails. So at the beginning of this, I mentioned, upselling throughout these emails. Okay. This is a great one to upsell because a transactional email is usually something that somebody wants to read, right? It's either their confirmation, it's their, again, the receipt or something like that. I hate to keep repeating the words that I'm seeing on the screen, but, the idea is that you have an email, it's pretty generic, it's pretty basic, but at the bottom of it, you put in, some products or some options, right? If you go back to the examples that I had right here, where here's an email. Now take this, let's say it's a confirmation email or a transactional email where it's saying, welcome to the team, yada, yada, yada. I'm so happy you're here. This is going to be great. Oh, by the way, have you gotten your core comfort mat yet? It's only $29.95, super easy. Click right here and you can buy it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's what I mean by upsell. You can put in other opportunities in there for them to take that next step. So sorry. There we go. So when you're sending some of these emails, Julianne and I were talking and she had a great example where she had different products that were, it was in one image and it kind of showed, that she might include at the bottom of her emails, just her normal communications of options to purchase things. So here's some examples, right? You have your coach link generator. These are, I think everybody on this call has access to this or some variation of it. It is super helpful because if you scroll through, there's challenge packs, there's sell pages, there's all this stuff. But what I found really helpful was when you start to get down to the bottom, the gear, right? It's another way to make a sell or earn money or, you can you don't have to be a part of the program to make these purchases. So I selected a few that were, the holiday season's coming up. Maybe a husband wants to buy a gift for his wife or wife for his husband, or, maybe it's a relative or anything like that, but this is a great gift idea. Hey, do you have somebody that works out? Here's a core comfort mat. If you have your link and you put it in there, you can see Julianne's name appear at the top, right? This is a link that you can share. You can put it on social media, you can do whatever, but you can include it in your emails and drive them directly to this. So that example that I was showing earlier, where it had the core comfort mat, when you click it, it would go to this page. So, it's under $30. You have this body fat tester. I found that interesting. I'm like, I see those things all the time. Never really thought to buy one, but I'm like, hey, you know what? It's only $15. $15. That's it. That's all you got to do. The resistant bands. I don't know. I see people doing this, whatever, like all these different things. It's $20. You can add that in there. You have a jump mat. Not even really sure what it does, but it says, hey, it's great for the workouts and great for the knees and all this. $23, right? Balance ball. I see people sitting that on the office all day. I'm thinking about getting it for home because, it works out the core. You can sit here. I think, Julianne, I saw you doing some like push-ups or something. It's like, these are examples of an opportunity that you guys already have with your link generator. And what it does is it allows you to take those products or take those items and include it in your emails. So when I'm saying upsell, if you're doing a newsletter or you're doing a standalone or lead nurturing or you're doing transactional or milestones, you can add these items into it and include them as another opportunity for somebody to make a sell, right? So your emails don't necessarily have to be these thought out, like, just, strategic and, and the content of what you're trying to say and what it is. Really what you want to think about is you want to think about your subject line. You want them to open it. You want to make sure that the call to action is good to go. You personalize it if you can. You want to make sure it's optimized for mobile. I mean, that's really it. Other than that, these are just some examples that you can use to communicate through them. So the last one that I have on this list here is milestones. Okay. So this is informative. It's relevant. They're usually automated. It's an example, happy birthday, congratulations, it's an anniversary. So if you have somebody, we're going to take that example again. Somebody signed up to your team. They did it a year ago. This is their year anniversary. How great would it feel to say, hey, Julianne, congratulations on a year of being successful and doing this. And it's just an email just saying congratulations. It's not a lot of thought into it. There's nothing else in there. But you know what? You can upsell other things. You can put other items in there and just say, hey, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. By the way, do you have this or do you have that or do you have whatever? And you don't even have to acknowledge it. You can just put it down at the bottom. An example that I had when on Julianne's call, when I was talking to her before, was Apple Watches, right? They send you an email and it says Apple Watch or whatever, and you scroll down and then there's all the accessories, the different bands, the different, all the different items that might come with it, the guards and the protectors and things like that. That's an example of an upsell. So when you guys are going through your emails, and you guys are not work emails, your personal emails, when you receive an email, notice the upsell, notice the personalization, notice how good it looks on your phone, notice that the subject line is short and it's sweet. These are the industry best practices that you're going to want to keep in mind as you start to experiment with email and you start to find different ways to use it and find different methods. Just don't forget to upsell in there, right? This whole idea here is we're all here to grow our business, help our friends, help our families, encourage everybody and do all this. But along the way, you have great access to a lot of helpful tools that can get you there. So, all right, I think I kept it under 30 minutes. Hell yeah. All right, so Marketing 303 is the next one. We're going to be doing this on November 19th. This one, we're going to be talking about social media. That's usually our most popular talk that we do here because I think that's the most relevant and the most interesting. So it won't be as boring as basic as email is. But that's going to be exciting. We're going to talk about the same thing. We're going to talk about using those links. We're going to talk about using content to get them to maybe take that next step. Maybe it's a purchase and maybe it's some, other items. So with that, I just want to say thank you. And yeah. Hey, Eric. How are you?
Oh my gosh, TJ. Thank you so much. That was so awesome. Everyone's just shouting you out right now.
That was so good.
Yeah.
I'm down here. I'm feeding kids.
Yeah.
But so good.
Cool.
I guess something that struck me was when I do a new coach welcome, like upselling in the sense of like, hey, these are my top 3 favorites. Say they buy a challenge pack. In my welcome email, just saying, hey, like these are the things I live by: hydrate, energize, and collagen. And then just putting the links to that in the welcome email. And then they would sign up, and then they could use, when they click my link, it would automatically give them the discount that they have as a coach by signing in with their stuff. That was really, really good. Really good. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. And everybody enjoy and have a great rest of the month. And I'll see you guys in November, okay?
Yay. Thank you. Everyone else stay on.
Bye, TJ.
All right,
all right. I hope you guys got something from that. I think the biggest thing that I got was make it personal. And if you guys are using different tools in your workout, Julianne was like pointing out, and I think Morgan said it in the chat too, as well as like when he was talking about the comfort mat. Those are just like other different tools that I forget that we have, that I use myself, that I can say like, hey, like this has helped me during this workout, especially if you're talking to a challenger that you brought on and they're like, hey, I'm sore and I need some more help. So just again, different tools that we can recommend to people that we're helping. With that, I also wanted to make a note was, if you guys have missed previous calls on this stuff, if you're a newer coach, welcome. Hopefully you didn't feel too overwhelmed, especially talking about something so unique subject so far in depth. I ask you just go check out Julianne's YouTube. We upload these calls from every Tuesday, and you guys can go back in there and get refreshed and get all this information that is super, super helpful to growing your business. So with that, I'm going to transition and talk about a lesson that I've been kind of learning. And that's something that I previously planned something else, and then Monday Q&A happened, and then I switched it. So, so if you were on the call yesterday for Monday Q&A that happens every Monday at 5:30 Pacific time, I recommend that you guys get on it. Julianne has a lot of great tips and things that have worked for her that she'll respond with. But as I was on that call, there was a newer coach. Her name is Lauren, and I noticed Laura Doragarian's on this call. But this newer coach named Lauren was just stating her goal and saying like, "Hey, I want to get to Emerald," because she's halfway to Emerald right now, and she was asking for tips and different things. And then Laura stepped up and kind of shared her story about what kind of drew her in initially to Beachbody. And I thought this was something powerful because I feel like most of our connections that we've made and people that have joined alongside us for these past 5 years and are still here are people that we've made genuine connections with and invested our time into. So Laura, if you give me a version, hopefully I'm not going to butcher this story at all, but I'm going to do my best. So Laura and Julianne met. We lived in an apartment in San Jose, and we met Laura there. And over time, Laura and Julianne developed a relationship, and Laura was telling her story yesterday, how Julianne kind of was inviting her to work, inviting her to work out with her. And it was consistent. It was not like in your face, but it was through like little conversations. And I thought that was powerful, Laura, that you shared that it wasn't initially like, "Hey, like, come join me," and then bye, and then never talk to you again, right? But it was investing in that relationship first, which I thought was so powerful. And I think for most of us, what we can take away and what I kind of took away was, how do we get back to consistently creating the opportunity to say yes to either this business or just to even being open to working out. And kind of what that story is, Julianne was just being consistent in asking and creating the open invitation to that. So I was doing some self-reflection, and I was like, how do I create that again? How do I get those in-person connections again to create that opportunity? So I have 3 questions here for you guys, and I'm going to give us 1 minute to respond to each. I've already kind of responded to them, but these are for, again, how to answer the question, how do I consistently create the opportunity and help people say yes, and then invest in it, and then invest in them, and then invite. So the first question is, obviously, what opportunity am I creating? I think for myself personally, and again, you're responding to these as well, and you can type them in the chat. Is what is the opportunity I'm creating? And I'm actually going to pause for like 30 seconds and just give you time to think and write before I respond. All right, if you guys want to throw some answers out there in the chat, what is the opportunity I'm creating? And then for me, myself personally, I think the opportunity I am creating is a chance at building a healthier lifestyle, right? For dads specifically. And I think it was, for me, is like, how do I communicate that? What opportunity do I have for dads that are in a new season of like being super chaotic, and like I'm just trying to figure out, what does it mean to be a new dad? How do I connect with them? How do I show them that our lifestyle that I live how do I connect with them? So I think for me, it's like, I want to create the opportunity for them to just be interested in working out again and taking care of themselves. Let me see.
For me, I really want to help postpartum moms work on themselves. And I think it's just a very overwhelming time. And so something that I was thinking about is a lot of people overshare opinions with motherhood. And so my idea behind that was creating an environment to where you prompt your post. And so making a safe space for moms to either get advice or share a praise or just ask a question. And I really want to do that. But then specifically, I just feel like the opportunity I have is to give people more choices in life. And that is on this team. And so something that I've been thinking about is out of anything, whether it's postpartum moms, overworked teachers, I want to invite to the team. That is what I want to spend most of my time inviting to, instead of a group where I give them the coaching opportunity, but specifically talking about coaching more, talking about the team more, and talking about how it's the total solution and lifestyle to join Happy and Fit. And I just feel like that's the total solution to everybody, but not everyone will do it. And making my focus that way.
And I see a lot of you guys responding. Kaylin says, opportunity to help multi-passionate women to get through the transition in life and daily life commitments to still get to their goals. And I think most of us, like, even just as people, like, we all want that, is to make sure we're staying committed to getting somewhere, to getting either better at a job or getting healthier in our life, or getting better as a parent. Again, yeah, there's so many different ways you can go about this. And like right now is like, how do you get specific? So number two, the second question is, how can I invest, or how can I invest? Who can I invest in right now? Who can I invest in right now in my life? And the reason I asked that question is because with that story, Julianne invested in Laura, and most of you guys have invested in someone else. So maybe it might be somebody specific, especially maybe even your personal life. I think about my mom and how the investment took 5 years, but we were still investing and inviting and creating the opportunity for her to work out with us, or just to even try to try a workout program. So who can I invest in right now?
Without assuming they're going to say no. Like, sometimes we don't invest in someone because we automatically think that no, I've always done this for the last 5.5 years, is turned a no to a not yet, a ghost to a not yet, to an unfriend. You guys, I've been unfriended by people who have refriended me who have joined this team. Like, I've had people who've quit, come back. And so anytime someone says no, I always turn it into a not yet. Anytime something happens, I'm like, it's not yet their time. Like, and maybe it will be, but the thing that will not change is my belief in this, and my consistency in this, and my action taking in this. Because no one's no or not yet will interfere with my ability to get fit in every area of life. That is not dependent upon anybody else. And so by me showing up, I'm investing in other people and in the future of our team. And so don't put limitations on who you want to invest in just because you think that they might say no.
Yeah. And that's funny that you said that, because that's the third question I wrote down.
I didn't even know that.
Was what happens if they say no?
That's so awesome. That's because we talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah, and I think about it even as we first began this journey. Like, Julianne would just throw a blanket, well, not a blanket, but like a invite out there on Facebook to come and invite people to work out in her classroom. And she wasn't even sure if people would show up or not, and people did. And
yeah.
And I just thought, like, I think you've invested a lot more time into people than you oh my gosh, I'm like tongue-tying myself. I think that all of us have invested a lot more time into people, and we discredit ourselves saying like, oh, like they would never be interested because X, Y, and Z, you know? So again, the last question is, what happens if they say no? And I think is like one, kind of what Julianne was saying, like there's always like there's someone else that can be helped, and two is like I'm just gonna invite you later.
Yeah, or what does it matter?
Or what does it matter?
What does it even matter if they say no? Like, how does that even, that changes nothing about your belief and changes nothing about your results. Like, nothing. And the answer is always no if you don't ask. And the answer is a continued no if you don't continue to ask. I've never added that to that. But like, it's someone has to see an opportunity and get asked something. I had to wait on this opportunity for 3 months. How many of you wish you would have joined sooner? Are you kidding? I wish I would have found this as soon as Beachbody started. Like when Trina got in, I wish that's when I would have, because of what this has done, the way I think, the way I surround myself with people. And I don't know. I love that question. What if they say no? Oh, well, someone will say yes.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
And I just read what you put, Tess. It says, who can I invest in right now is connecting with other farm wives, grandmas, friends that are getting ready to retire, anyone looking for preventative care as we grow older. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
That is so powerful. I
think of my mom, who is like having so like loving this, and you guys, she's donating a kidney. And my mom is like a superwoman, and she's donating a kidney, and she's so flipping healthy. And she loves Shakeology. She loves these workouts. She loves collagen. She loves the beach bars. I told her she could only have one a day and not have them all throughout the day. That's how much she loves beach bars. And I was like, Mom, just one a day. Like, don't have any. They're not candy bars, Mom. It's so powerful, and I just think that health doesn't age out. Right? The need for it doesn't age out. We need it for life. And I think no matter how old all of us are on here, like we need it for life. Like it's not like, oh, when we're retired, we're done. It's like, no, like it continues. And that's why I love this team so much.
And since I get to kind of put all my answers together is like, I know that there's men in our community in San Jose that I haven't invested in, that I've talked to and that I've poured time into. And I really it's like, again, or reaching out and creating the opportunity to come work out. It could be as simple as like, hey, I'm open Thursday night. Do you want to come work out? And I think you just extending the invite, or us extending the invite, is powerful. Because then one, it shows that you care. You've made it personal. And two is like, you've already invested so much time in them that it's not, I feel like it hurts less like if they said no, because like I know that I have a relationship with you, and I'm probably just going to keep inviting you later because I know that the power, like I know the power and everything that it's done for me.
Yeah, and I think too, like, what does it matter if they say no? Because it doesn't change anything about what it's done for you. I think we just have to keep that at our, like, in our minds, is like anyone we invest in, if they're not ready yet, us being more consistent, that's like my motivation, because regardless if someone joins me or not, I'm still going to do it. And that's where the power is. And a lot of people get so defeated when people quit, stop, say no. And instead I'm like, oh man, like that they're just going to watch then. They're just going to sit on the sidelines and watch. And I already know this. You've got to get into the arena.
Yeah. And
that's one thing that I remember you saying over and over and over again is, I'm doing this. I am on this train, like whether or not you're going to join me. And I remember telling you like, hey, like I can hop on YouTube and you know, pull up a workout. Granted, I would take like 2 hours to decide what workout I was going to do on YouTube, but I could do that. I could do parent teacher workouts. But where I suffered was, and where I always suffered was accountability and consistency. And it's like you giving me the flavor of like, hey, come out, work out with me, was the thing that was really helpful to say, hey, like I do actually enjoy these workouts. Are these workouts completely different from anything you can find on YouTube? Honestly, not really. But what you have is the calendar, and what you have is the team. Everybody is pushing each other to work out and to live a healthy and fulfilled life.
And that goes along with the compensation plan. Like, what the heck? What the actual heck? Like, that is Peloton, awesome. Like, Nikki got a Peloton bike and all that stuff. Like, Teresa Schrader has a Peloton bike, but they don't have a compensation plan. Sarah Morrison loves running. Sweet. Her running doesn't have a compensation plan. She just loves running. But like, legitimately, us working on ourselves, it's also a business that can give you more choices in life. And there's nothing wrong with making impact and income. And at the end of the day, you have got to decide that you can do it. At the end of the day, you've got to decide that it's for you. And then the difference is that the action. You can research all you want. It's like going back to that morning meltdown 100. Instead of watching 100 workouts before you take a step to do one, you just do day one. You just make one post. You just send out one invite, and you might butcher it, and it might be awkward, and you might be fumbling all over your words, and you might be super nervous, right? But then you're going to do day 2, and then day 3, and then all of a sudden you're 56 days in, and you're like, how did I get here? This is amazing. And then you're just going to keep on going. Eric, what great content and what great questions. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. And we're so grateful that you guys hopped on.
Yeah, greatest team ever. Immerse yourself. Like, follow Kim and I at Leadership. I can't wait to hug her tomorrow right at the airport. We're going to be riding together. Immerse yourself into this team. Immerse yourself into getting fit in every area of life. Immerse yourself into the belief that you can do this. And I honestly think the one thing, like, you just have to qualify yourself. There is no degree for entrepreneurship. And I just think that, like, I just decided to qualify myself, and because I care about people, not because I knew everything about the nutrition, not everything because I love fitness. It's just I really like people, and I really want the best for them, and I wanted more choices for myself. And I just decided to qualify myself because my story I needed to be shared. And because I share my story, and because Eric shares his story, we've been able to connect with a lot of people and give them tools that work. Like Laura said, people can go to Pinterest and YouTube and go to a gym and do all these things, but all of those things don't offer all the things that we offer. We offer nutrition, fitness, friendship, freedom, finances. We offer it all. So we're so grateful to be partnered with you, and we are so grateful for the future of Team Happy and Fit and for your teams that you're creating. And I just think that if you just take the action and just invite people to the team, it'll change everything for you. All right, we'll go ahead and hit end record.